About 2,000 years ago, a man appears in history whose actions make the listeners slow down and think. A man who gives sight to the blind, heals people with leprosy, brings the dead back to life, shapes a bird from clay and sees it fly, and tells people what they eat and what they keep in their homes. Things no normal human could do, and in this quiet moment, a simple question naturally comes to mind. Who is this man, and where does this power come from? Is he God? Is he the Son of God, or is he a prophet? Let us find out. You are watching the Final Direction YouTube channel. Stay with us until the end as we uncover the true reality of this man, his mission, and what the Quran and the Bible reveal about who he really was. His story begins with his birth, which itself was a miracle. Mary, peace be upon her, was a pure, righteous, and devoted woman who spent her life in worship and obedience to God. One day, the angel Gabriel came to her in human form with a message from God. He told her that she would have a son, even though no man had touched her. Mary was shocked and asked how this could happen, but she was told that this was God's command, and that when God decides something, he only says be, and it happens. By God's order, the angel Gabriel blew the spirit toward her, and she became pregnant without any human involvement. This was not a human act, and not the power of the angel, but the will of God alone. When the time of birth came, Mary went away from her people to a quiet place. She felt pain, fear, and sadness, and wished that people would not accuse her. At that moment, God comforted her and supported her. She was told not to worry, and God provided water beneath her and fresh dates from the palm tree to give her strength. She gave birth alone under the palm tree and held her newborn child with trust in God. When Mary returned to her people carrying the baby, they were shocked and accused her of wrongdoing. She did not argue or explain. Instead, she pointed to the child. By God's will, the baby Jesus spoke from the cradle and said that he was the servant of God, that God had given him the book and made him a prophet. As Jesus, peace be upon him, grew older, he began calling people toward the worship of one God. He preached with wisdom, kindness, and truth, and reminded people to return to God's guidance. God supported him with powerful miracles such as healing the blind, curing the sick, and raising the dead as signs of his prophethood. As more people believed in him, his enemies became afraid. They feared losing their power and began to plot against him, believing they could stop his message. When the enemies of Jesus, peace be upon him, became serious about stopping him, they believed that his message was becoming too strong. More people were listening to him and following his words, and this made them afraid. They thought that if Jesus was removed, everything would return to normal. Quiet plans were made and people were sent to search for him. They were confident that this time they would succeed and that his story would end. At that moment, something happened that they did not expect. God protected Jesus, and another man was made to look like him. This did not happen by chance, and it was not a human trick. It happened by the will of God. The reason this man's appearance became like that of Jesus was to create confusion among those who were determined to harm him. Some narrations mention that this man was among those involved in the plot against Jesus, while other reports suggest he was someone present near the scene. The Quran itself does not focus on identifying who this man was, because the identity is not the main point. What matters is that God caused his appearance to resemble Jesus so closely that the enemies had no doubt in their minds. When they saw him, they were completely convinced that they had found Jesus. His face, his body, and his outward appearance matched so well that no one questioned it. They acted quickly and took that man, believing they had achieved their goal. Soon the news spread among the people that Jesus had been captured and killed. Many accepted this story without knowing the truth. Different stories began to spread and people argued, but no one had clear knowledge. The truth, however, was very different. Jesus was never in their hands and he was never harmed. While people believed what they saw and followed assumptions, Jesus was already safe and protected. What they thought was their greatest victory was actually a misunderstanding. The man who was made to look like Jesus became the reason for this confusion. This event shows that when God decides to protect someone, even the strongest human plans fail. People may believe they have succeeded, but the truth always remains with God. When the plans of the enemies reached their peak and they believed that Jesus' peace be upon him was finally in their control. At that moment, God's power revealed a scene far greater than human understanding. The Quran tells us that Jesus was not killed, and he was not crucified, but instead God raised him up to himself. At that time there was noise, plotting and confusion on the earth, but in the heavens there was peace, protection, and honor. Jesus was taken away from the sight of his enemies, and God saved him in a way that people only saw what appeared on the surface, while the truth was hidden from them. To understand who Jesus truly was, we must put emotions aside and look carefully at what Jesus himself said and how the Bible describes him. Islam does not reject Jesus, nor does it disrespect him. In fact, Islam honors Jesus as one of the greatest prophets of God. When we read the Bible carefully, we see that Jesus speaks and acts like a servant of God. He prayed to God, and God does not pray to anyone. In Matthew 26:39, Jesus falls on his face and asks God for help. He also says, "The Father is greater than I." John 14:28, which shows he did not see himself as equal to God. In John 17:3, Jesus calls the Father the only true God and describes himself as the one sent by him, which is the role of a prophet. The Quran adds an important moment from the very beginning of Jesus' life. When Mary returned to her people with the newborn child, they accused her. At that moment, Jesus spoke from the cradle by God's will and said, "I am the servant of God. He has given me the book and made me a prophet." These words are very clear. From the first day of his life, Jesus did not claim to be God or God's son. He declared himself a servant and prophet of God. The Bible also supports this understanding by calling Jesus a man approved by God and saying that God performed miracles through him. Acts 2:22. The Quran confirms that Jesus performed miracles, but only as signs from God. Both scriptures lead to one clear conclusion. Jesus was a servant and prophet of God who called people to worship the one true God alone. What is your belief about Jesus? Is he God? Is he the Son of God? Or is he a prophet sent by God? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Final Direction, for more truth-seeking content. Press the bell icon to stay updated with our upcoming videos.